I've never told anyone this in detail before, not my family, not my friends. But if there's even one person out there who can avoid what happened to me, then it's worth the sleepless nights I'll probably have after writing this. My name is Michael Reeves. I previously worked the midnight shift at a Walmart store in Rochester, Minnesota back in 2014. It was all about restocking, sweeping, and with the occasional night owl shopper. I was 24, broke, and needed a job, so I did not really care about the creepy gossip people give about our store. They informed us we were in the wrong place, that things would happen after midnight. You'd hear your name being called in the freezer section when there's nobody around, or the motion sensor lights turn on and off down an empty hallway. I dismissed that. I wasn't some horror movie heroines. I had a life to live, bills to pay. I wish I had heeded the warning. It started on a Thursday night in November. I was doing inventory work in aisle 19, auto and storage. I was replacing windshield wiper fluid and noticed something odd on the surveillance dome camera above me. I glimpsed someone standing right behind me, and when I turned around, once more the aisle was empty. I tried to brush it off. It was likely an optical illusion. I even crossed the aisle to check if someone had passed by, and I got nothing. Nothing. So I went back to work. At 3:23 a.m., the ceiling message system began to come on. But no message. Just nothing. That was not typical. No one but Susan, manager, and Craig, assistant manager, were allowed to utilize the intercom. I phoned Susan using my in-store phone. She explained that she hadn't used it, or that Craig hadn't used it. Odd, but I didn't freak out. 5 minutes went by, and I was in the toy section. A baby doll was on the floor of the aisle. Its eyes were wide open. I could see that I must not have left it there. I bent down to pick it up, but as soon as my fingertips touched it, the lights in the store flashed crazily, and the overhead lights for the whole toy department shut off. Pitch black, and the footsteps, light shuffling, intentional. I rigidified. I swear to God I couldn't have moved if I had tried. My muscles froze. All that was there in the darkness was the echo of the footsteps, slowly approaching behind me, and then a whisper right behind my ear. "You shouldn't be here." I turned around so quickly that I almost toppled over backwards, but once more no one. Only the lines of stiff toys in the blackness. I ran back to the electronics where the light was still on. Racing heart, perspiring. I ran and told Craig, and he only laughed. "Figures some sort of prank by the new guy," he said. But we didn't have any new guy. There were just the 5 of us working that day. Me, Craig, Susan, a janitor named Louise, and a shy kid from the produce stand named Daniel. Like I said, it was an odd guy. The next evening I didn't go, but feeling guilty about not going urged me on. We needed money, especially with Mom's doctor bills piling up. I told myself it was stress, sleep deprivation, being a fanatic. But that evening something came along and tipped it over in a full-on obsession. At around 2:40 a.m., I was dispatched to clean up a spill on aisle 9 kitchenware. Somebody had knocked over an entire stack of ceramic bowls. I got there before the pieces were cooled off. Not room temperature warm, like somebody microwaved them before they broke. That's not even the worst part. As I started sweeping the pieces into the dustpan, I felt something jammed between 2 of them. A Polaroid picture of me, stocking shelves, in the same uniform that I had on that night, except from the back. And not once that entire night had I heard anyone creep up behind me. I was trembling in my hand. I showed the picture to Susan, who was apoplectic. "Where did you get this?" she demanded. I clarified. She told me to go with her to the security office. We viewed the tape together. I fast-forwarded to the part where I was cleaning the bowls. From where the camera was situated, I was completely by myself. Then frame by frame there was a face looming over me, fuzzy white looming, its head cocked at an odd angle, its neck twisted like a coat hanger bent into an unnatural position. No face, just smooth flesh-colored skin, and long, spindly fingers that disappeared when I turned around. Susan turned pale. "We're calling corporate tomorrow," she choked. This is not acceptable." But corporate never called. That was the last good night I ever had working there. Never showed up for work after that evening in the security office, Susan. She just vanished. No goodbye note, no letter. Craig said she was on a personal leave, but I wasn't having it. She'd been so terrified that last shift. You didn't just take a leave and just up and vanish like that. The others of us still showed up. Me, Craig, Daniel, and Luis. But the store was altered. The temperature dropped every night after 2:00 a.m. You'd feel in your bones. Like the heat just stopped working even though maintenance said it was fine. Luis swore he heard crying coming from the garden section. Daniel started coming to work with a cross around his neck and wouldn't go near aisle 14 anymore, the home goods section where Susan used to do her inventory. And as for me, I started getting stalked. Not outside, in the store. Each night, I catch a glimpse of that same faceless tall something out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes in frozen food, sometimes in pet food. Just standing there, never going anywhere, but always closer each time. Then there was the night that snapped. It was a Sunday afternoon. We were shorthanded. Craig asked me to go into the back freezer, where we keep overflow meat deliveries. The door is this thick metal thing with a huge latch. To open it from the outside, you need a key card. I went inside alone. It was chilly, of course. The fluorescent lights hummed quietly. I grabbed a pallet of packaged chicken and spun around, and that was when I saw it. The figure, no longer nebulous. Clear, 7 feet tall, eyes absent, face absent, just tight, grayish pink skin pulled over a head that twitched and flared like it was alive. Its arms were too long. The fingers scraped the floor. And the worst of all, it was smiling. No mouth, but it smiled. The skin formed into the shape of one. I screamed and dropped the chicken. Tried to dash for the freezer door, but it slammed shut by itself. I pounded, kicked, screamed. Nothing. And then, the lights went out. I was alone, in frozen darkness, with that thing. I have no idea how long I stayed. Minutes? Hours? What I do remember is that I heard all this whispering everywhere. Some of them were familiar voices. My mom, my childhood friend Marcus, even Susan. They all whispering the same thing over and over. You're already part of it. I woke up in the break room, shaking with Daniel pouring cups of coffee into my hands. You were gone for 2 hours, he said. We were about to call 911. I told them what happened. Craig laughed, but Daniel didn't. He pulled me aside and whispered something I'll never forget. This store isn't just haunted, he said. It's feeding. He told me other Walmarts had tales like that. Disappearing employees, sanity lost, shadows on screens. He even took me to a post on Reddit from years earlier when someone had posted about this exact store, about seeing the same faceless man. I quit that night, cleaned out my locker, left my badge on the counter, and walked out. Never looked back. A month later, Daniel died in a car crash. That's what was in the paper. But I know he didn't die by accident. I knew as soon as I read the story. Because that night, I got a Polaroid in the mail. It was of Daniel driving his car, afraid-eyed. It was stamped the day before he died. And on the back it said in little pointed letters. He said, I moved out of Minnesota. I've held 4 jobs since then. But I'll be occasionally plowing down the aisle of the supermarket, the open-air gas station, or even a covered mall, and I'll catch it again. The quiet, tall presence. Staring. Waiting. I think it torments survivors. Like it marks you. You can't escape it. Not truly. If you're reading this, and you work the night shift, especially at some big box retailer like Walmart, listen in on the periphery of your peripheral vision. If things start to move on their own. If you hear someone call your name down the aisleways. If a camera picks up something behind you when nobody's there. Get out, before it grins at you too.